Golden Blue Tube here with you for another season prediction. Today we're going to talk about Oklahoma State. I got all my notes. I'm ready to go. So the first thing we're going to talk about is head coach Mike Gundy, aka the Mullet. He has kept Oklahoma State competitive in the Big 12. However, they kind of remind me of West Virginia. They aren't a powerhouse, but every once in a while, the stars align. This is one of those years where the stars could align. First and foremost, you already know who I'm going to say. Running back Chuba Hubbard returning was the first and most important star that aligned. Last year he had 328 carries for 2,094 yards, 6.4 yards a carry, 21 touchdowns. He had 100 yards in every game except for one. It was that McNeese State game. He's a big-time playmaker, and he has track speed. He is very fast. As of right now, the guy giving him the ball is Spencer Sanders. I will talk about him here in a minute. Chuba will have some decent help with L.D. Brown, who last year had 34 attempts for 223 yards. He averaged 6.6 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns. They also have a JUCO transfer, Desmond Jackson, from Hutchinson, which is in Kansas. In 2018, he had 163 carries for 1,216 yards, 13 touchdowns, 7.5 yards a carry. Last year, he did have limited action, but they could utilize him more if necessary. Back to Spencer Sanders. In 2019, he was 155 for 247. That's 62.8%. 2,065 yards, 16 touchdowns, but 11 interceptions. Now, he had some great games, but also had some clunkers, resulting in those interceptions. He's got to limit those mistakes as a sophomore. Those were freshman mistakes, and hopefully he can clean that up. And to be honest with you, his job isn't 100% safe because Oklahoma State does have a talented freshman, 6'5", Shane Illingsworth. He will see action, and he could put some competition pressure on Spencer Sanders. The O-line is good, but not great, and they do add transfer Josh Seals from West Virginia. But, no matter the quarterback, Oklahoma State has some high-caliber receivers. Tylan Wallace, he went down with a torn ACL earlier in the year, and he's back. Before that injury, he had 53 catches for 903 yards and 8 touchdowns. In his absence, Dylan Stoner stepped in. He had 52 receptions for 599 yards and 5 touchdowns. Also, Braden Johnson, he had 23 receptions for 491 yards and 4 touchdowns. And they also added an LSU transfer, D. Anderson, who in 2019, not great numbers, 20 receptions for 274 yards and a touchdown, but he is 6'5", so he had some height to the receiving corps. So, offense is looking really good. If they can put it all together, they could be very, very dangerous. Maybe the best in the nation. Let's talk about the Cowboys' defense. It was decent in 2019. Total defense ranked 7th in the Big 12. Scoring defense was 5th in the Big 12. And with this offense, as long as there's no glaring liabilities, they should be all right. That reminds me of the 2011 West Virginia team where we had 2012 West Virginia team. Awesome offense, but our defense was a liability, and we ended up going 7-5. They do return all but one top tackler. Most of the D-line is back. They have speed, but they do lack size. But good depth should keep the line fresh, which is a big deal, especially when they're smaller. The strength on defense should be the linebackers. Now bear with me with this name. Amen Ogbongbemiga. I don't know if that's right. He's the leader. He had 63 solo tackles and 100 total tackles, 5 sacks, and 15 for a loss. Malcolm Rodriguez, however, led the team. He had 60 solo tackles and 103 altogether tackles. He had 1.5 sacks, 7 for a loss. Now, what does hurt Oklahoma State is cornerback A.J. Johnson. He's gone. That does hurt. But safety Colby Harville-Hill, there we go, should be the leader of the secondary. 2019, he had 49 tackles solo, 71 altogether, 1 sack, and 5 interceptions. So with A.J. Green gone, that is a big loss, but I think their secondary should be fine because they do have a lot of experience coming back. So, heaven and hell scenarios. Heaven scenario. The offense thrives. Spencer Sanders limits mistakes. Chuba Hubbard has a Heisman-type year. The defense finishes in the upper half of the Big 12 this year. Oklahoma State wins the Big 12 and is in the conversation of the playoffs at the end of the year. Now let's go over to the hell scenario. Expectations are too overwhelming. Spencer Sanders throws way too many interceptions. The defense can't stop opponents enough for the offense. Oklahoma State wins 7-8 games, but still gets to a bowl. But for this year, that would be a down year. So that's the hell scenario. So that's not a bad hell scenario. So what does Gold and Blue Tooth think? Well, let's run through their schedule. They start with Oregon State at home. Win. Tulsa at home. Win. Western Illinois at home. Win. At TCU. Win. Iowa State at home. That's important. Win. At Kansas. Win. At Oklahoma. Loss. There's your first loss. At Baylor. Win. West Virginia at home. Win. At Kansas State. Win. Texas at home. Win. Yes, that's right. I am going to call the heaven scenario for Oklahoma State. So my official predictions, Spencer Sanders takes the next step with better weapons. Chuba Hubbard is invited to the Heisman ceremony. The defense is better than last year. Oklahoma State goes 11-1, avenges a season lost to Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. And beats Oklahoma in the Big 12 title game and possibly makes the playoffs. So there you go. Gold and Blue Tube thinks Oklahoma State has a very good shot at winning the Big 12 championship and possibly making the playoffs. So let me know what you guys think about this. That's all I got for you today. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time.